Welcome to the Wing Life Podcast, where we talk about wing foiling and the lifestyles of those who enjoy this great sport. Well, hey, Caitlin, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So I heard you were wrestling crocodiles today.
Sounds about right down here in Australia, but no, just the kangaroos this morning. Nothing.
Oh, nice.
Nothing nice, in the water. No, we're pretty lucky. Down on the surf coast, we stay away from crocodiles, which is thank God, because I would learn how to wing foil really well, not falling in the water at all.
Yeah, those things they're intense. So whereabouts are they, in a different part of Australia then?
Yeah. So we're down on the surf coast here. They're further up north, which we're actually planning to maybe head up there later this year because it's warmer and really good downwinders. But the water's murkier, and yes, there's lots of crocs up there.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Any sharks and stuff your way down the surf coast, or is it not too bad?
Definitely. We're a good spot down here for the great whites pass by. Where we are, I've never, touch wood, never seen one, which is good. But they definitely are around and you hear about them. But we're pretty lucky. Our water's so cold down here that we kind of tend not to get too many vicious creatures. Or I like to just not think about it and hope for the best.
You ladies and guys are tough down there. I think you're just born tougher than the rest of the world.
We're just used to it. We're like, oh, they're out there, but it's fine. That's why foiling's good, because you got a big knife on the bottom of your board, so you're usually cool.
That's the thing. Did you grow up in Oz?
Yeah. So my mum's actually American, but they moved down to WA over in Perth, and I grew up there. My dad was a big windsurfer, and then we moved over to Melbourne, and when I was about 8, been here ever since. And we actually only moved to the surf coast about a year ago, so really only just getting into the waves and stuff now and completely obsessed. So you get hooked really, really quick.
What was your first sport kind of entering into it? Did you get into windsurfing? Or?
Interestingly enough, and I'm sure with a lot of people, COVID was the thing that put me onto wing foiling. So in Melbourne, I lived like kind of in the city through lockdown, and we were only allowed 5 kilometers from our home. So we were lucky because we were right next to the bay, and so in our 5 kilometers you could pretty much walk down to the water. And I went for a walk one day, and I was like, that looks really cool. There were these 2 guys out. They were riding some of the bay waves down in the bay, and I was like, I got to give that a go. Had never done any wind sports or anything. I had surfed a fair bit, but just picked it up and got into it when we had time.
Oh shit! How were your first sessions learning that Bronco sport?
Not good. And that was like 3 years ago, and you know how much it's developed since then. So like early days, we thought the thing to do was have a small foil, and like you just wanted to go as small as you could, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to learn. It was It was tough, but I think that's what helped us through COVID, because we were like, we need something to focus on and something to fixate on. And I think I was down there every day through winter, summer. We actually had some pretty good wind, which was lucky. And yeah, just had to learn how to do it. And also my dad and I were learning together, so I had to be better than him because we're pretty competitive.
My brother and I kind of learned at the similar time, and he was kite foiling. So he had like a racing kite foil. And I think it's the only time in my life I've ever been better at him at something, because I had a big foil. I was just doing laps around him. He's getting so frustrated. And I said, I better enjoy this
so
moment.
Mad. I think that's the best thing ever, is like having your family members, is just having someone that you want to be more competitive than makes you so good. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's hilarious. So funny.
It was pretty fun. So what are the conditions like, I guess, in your area for foiling?
Yeah, so
must be pretty decent.
Really good. Through summer, we have probably from November, it's going to be weird for you guys because different summers, but November through to about March, we get just sea breezes every day, and it's southwesterlies here, 15 to 20 knots. Every afternoon you go down to the beach at 1 or 2 and everyone's waiting there, ready to go. And it just kicks in. You have until 9 p.m. when the sun sets and you're all just out there. It's amazing. We have waves, and wind right through, and then about end of March it just switches off. And we then get northerlies and northwesterlies, which are offshore for us. So it's harder, it's like flatter and not as good, but if you get a good swell day, it's still really fun because you can kind of ride the waves with the offshore winds. But that's sort of few and far between through winter, unfortunately.
So it's time to do you focus on other things, I guess, or more surfing?
Yeah. I definitely have taken on the task of doing a bit of other foiling now because our swell picks up really nicely through winter. So getting into the prone foiling and the subfoiling. And between those three, there's no time to do anything else. It's always something to do, which is dangerous.
Cool. Well, it's pretty awesome that you were able to find it. How did you get into was that your first, you said that was your first time getting into water sport, like wind sports then?
Yeah. That's crazy. So whoa. I know, it was kind of weird. I've always been into my sports and always loved activities. I did a lot of surf life saving down here where we're in the water a lot and you compete and everything. But as soon as I found wing foiling, I just felt like it gave me a purpose, and I always loved my surfing. And then I think being a female in the sport as well, you got a lot of kind of feedback and attention, and people wanted to help you, and it was really fun because everywhere I went, people were giving me advice and helping me out, and you always had something to chat about. And I think you'd know as well in the community, it's just a really cool thing to do because you're talking to other cool people, and it's just a really cool community. So you get kind of hooked.
Yeah, we've talked about that quite a few times on the show, a bit of a difference between even the surf community and kind of this community. It's a little bit more inclusive because it's less competitive for waves.
Absolutely.
And there's a pretty cool aspect of it. Yeah, we talked to Kieran.
Awesome.
Also, so we had him on the show twice, and sick buddy of ours. And he mentioned that big time. And
so Kieran, he's been a bit of a good role model for me because he's riding with PPC as well. And I got to meet him, it was about November when our wind season picked up. We went up to a spot called Marimbula, and they have a bit of a competition sort of thing up there, and he was giving me a few tips and stuff. He's got some good stories. But definitely he was into the surfing and everything, and same thing down here. It's just so much less competitive. The surf down here gets pretty intense with people in car parks, and so it's kind of good to be doing something different for sure.
Yeah, that's what he mentioned. His story is pretty cool, coming from surfing and then transitioning into then competing. Like, how did you get started with, let's say, PPC or Saab? Like, what was your story to get yourself in there?
I love my social media. So I studied my degrees in media comms and business, and I was just posting a lot on Instagram, and I like to create content and stuff. And Sam from PPC kind of noticed that, and he's like, oh, she seems like she's loving this sport and would be a good person to help promote. And he reached out, and I owe him so much. It's been great to have someone that's given me gear and helped me out and got me into a few races and everything, but we don't have much down here, unfortunately. And between him and Sabfoil has just really helped me out with gear, because as a young person, it's really hard to get all your own gear and get out there. And that's just sort of how it built with them. And I guess all my social media stuff is really, that's kind of my way of doing it. I'm less into the competing and more into the sort of lifestyle side of foiling and wing foiling, and just want to do it for the travels and the adventures and everything.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because I saw you have some really good content up there. And it's always fun and playful with all your different friends and all that kind of thing. It really puts like the image of what it is that we're kind of doing out there. So I can see why they would have.
Really try and bring the whole sort of lifestyle thing into it. Like, it's such a cool sport and so many cool people in it. And I just want to share that with everyone and try and get it a little bit bigger, especially with the females, because I know it's intimidating when you look at it.
Yeah. How do you find being like a female athlete in today's kind of culture and society and kind of thing? Like, how do you find that within what you're trying to do?
It's interesting. Like, a lot of people complain about it and say, you know, women aren't treated as equally. I find in this sport it's been pretty amazing because everyone's tried to help me. Like I've not found one person who's degraded me or devalued me. They all want to give me advice and help me out, which I love. Especially down here on the Surf Coast, we have some really, really cool people who have helped me out. And I think it's interesting for me because I haven't really gotten into the competition side of things yet. I really do want to. So I haven't sort of seen that side of things and how it goes there, but I know from what I've seen, it looks pretty good. And especially all of Australia, like we're all following each other on Instagram, all the foilers chat, and we have a really good community down here. And no, I wouldn't even feel like it's women and men. It's just all the same, really.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's good to hear.
Yeah. It's cool.
Which kind of in competition, if let's say when you enter, you're thinking surf freestyle, pure wave, racing. What do you think would be your kind of favorite go-to?
I think go-to, I'm just obsessed with the wave, so I think it'd be pure wave first if I was going to do something. I am trying to look at hopefully getting over to one of those eventually because yeah, we get some really good swell here, so practicing turns on waves and everything is really easy for us to learn. We don't have great conditions to do freestyle. It really is dependent because we need a southeasterly to be able to jump off waves. And down here we get mainly southwesterlies. So it's okay, but definitely think I'd need a bit more practice in the freestyle area to get into that. But I think wave freestyle would also be pretty fun. So hopefully one of those two.
Okay. Yeah, because now waves, you can do whatever tricks that you want as long as you're holding like that leading edge handle.
Yep.
So what are you practicing in the waves?
Well, at this stage, it's still just the turns and really nailing those. And we're all kind of trying to transition boards at the moment. So similar to everyone, we're going from the kind of boxy strapped boards to more downwinder style and no straps, which is interesting because then you can't jump, but it feels like you really learn the flow of the wave and how to turn really well doing that. And so just trying to really lock in those and see how I go, and then probably put the straps back on and get it more of a freestyle board and do some jumps.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. So how long of a board, let's say, are you riding in waves then right now?
So at the moment I'm on a torpedo, Sabfoil torpedo. So it's 90 litres and it's 6'1". So it's kind of that mid-length sort of size, and it's really narrow. I think it's 19 inches wide. And it just, the flow of it is so much better. Like you can really turn it over and lean it over, and that narrowness keeps it from hitting the edge. And you just, the flow of it looks so nice. And some of the other guys down here are on those, and it looks incredible. When you do turns on the waves, it just really draws it out and makes it look kind of, I sort of put it like with the shortboards and the longer boards is like longboarding surfing and shortboard surfing. Like it looks sort of like that when you compare it.
Okay. Do you find your turns are snappier? Well, you just said they were more drawn out.
Definitely more drawn out, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's fun, and we kind of practice sort of the real loopy, drawn out waves right to the top of the lip of the wave if you can, and back down. Whereas when I'm on my shortboard and different foil, it's those real snappy kind of jolty turns that you do. And sometimes I feel like when I'm doing those, I'm cutting myself short and I'm not really getting the full turn out of there. I don't know. Everyone's sort of different. So we're figuring that out, and you can see it changing so quickly. It's hard to know what's right and what's wrong, but I think everyone's just trying to find their own. No, everyone's finding their own style, which is cool.
So you're seeing a big transition then towards that, given this whole new progression of longer, narrower.
Yeah. We've seen in the past 3 months down here, everyone's gone from that short, boxy shape to a mid-length. It was like I saw one at the beach, and then the next day another person had one, and we're all chatting about it, and then now it's just everyone. I think there's like 2 people left with the boxy board. So it's funny. It's really changed. I think that has a lot to do with each person's sort of location as well, like because we all chat and kind of do what each other do down here, but then you see other people in other places do different things. So it's interesting.
It's a cool concept for, I guess, if you're going to head into competition, it's kind of cool, right? To practice longer drawn out turns so you can get kind of that feel. And if you jump to a boxier board to do some tricks on the wave, like maybe this will just be another skill set that you bring to the table, right?
That's sort of what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to branch out and do it all, rather than really fixate on one thing and learn one thing that everyone's doing. I think if you're practicing other moves and other tricks, you've got a lot more up your sleeve if you're going to go into competition. And your style's different, like especially with these longboards, it's a lot more, you tend to learn to relax more, and really just feel the flow of the wave and where you are on the wave. And I think that's going to really help going back to my shorter board and other foil, practicing tricks, because you're going to know exactly where you need to be and how much power you get from that bottom turn and everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. How big of a waves are you used to playing in over there?
I think we usually get about, down at the point we practice on is probably 2 to 3 foot, so they're pretty small. And then occasionally you get the big swell, which can be up to 6 foot. But it's never too critical where we are. So where you're foiling, wing foiling, they kind of, that 6 foot swell will be on the angle that just sort of rolls through. So you're kind of just practicing on big lumps, which is cool. But this is the time of the year we really get the bigger waves coming in and the offshore wind. So this will be the good time to practice some proper, bit more critical stuff, I think.
You ready for it?
But yeah, I love it. I love the big waves. I'm like, everyone always says down here, like, you're always out the back. Like, what are you doing out there? It's so fun.
Just waiting for my bomb.
Yeah. Always searching for the biggest waves before anyone else can get them. It's funny. We're pretty lucky here with swell. You can always find something.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt. Yeah, I've heard good things. It's on my list to get out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Eventually hit that up in New Zealand as well. I think would be pretty amazing to go check out. And now with how easy it is to travel with foil gear, it's so much easier than, well, it's similar to kiting, I guess. It's just as easy, and surfing probably just as easy, relatively.
Definitely. It's so good now. And because it's starting to grow and you know people in different places, you can always have someone to help you out if you're missing something. New Zealand's meant to be pretty epic for waves too. That's where PPC is based, so trying to get over there and get a foil in. But I think their wind season has sort of stopped now too, so it's more of the toe-ins and proning.
That's good practice, though.
Yeah,
good practice.
It's awesome.
What do you like the most out of, because I know Sam's got some new gear coming out. What do you like the most about his wings and setup, and same thing with Saab as well?
Yeah, so the most amazing thing about PPC is his M1 wings. They're seriously incredible. Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but this thing is just, it's like the perfect wing. And it just, the way you can go upwind with it, it points pretty much into the wind if you're trying, because the Dyneema leading edge is so strong, and it pumps up to 12, 13 PSI, like really strong. And it just points straight into the wind. And if you hold it up, it will just sit wherever you want it to sit. Does not flutter. It's incredible. I think I can safely say that those wings were the things that made me progress from like here to here, because they just allowed me to do all the maneuvers, all the turns quickly and efficiently. It's just scary taking them in the waves. So I don't want to lose it. So you're trying to hold on for dear life. And sometimes I feel like I'm holding back a bit in the waves because I don't want to get tumbled with the M1, because you just shred them instantly. Unfortunately, down here, if you're in that spot, it's just not going to be good.
That's like whitewater. That's reef.
Yeah, it's instantly. Okay. We're kind of actually talking now about how to combat that, like the quick releases. Try and just get rid of the wing and pick that up later. Because now wings are getting more expensive and they're way better, but it's also something you don't want to shred because you need it. So trying to think of ways to sort of to deal with that. But the M1's incredible wings, and he's sort of toying with more ideas on how to make him more surf orientated and more race orientated. So I think he's just come out with the M1R, which is the race wing. even lighter, carbon handles, everything. So all the racers are super excited about that. I haven't really gone in the direction of racing, so I stick to the more basic ones, but incredible wings.
Okay.
Definitely.
It's good to hear.
Huge
so great up. Pumping. They stay kind of exactly what you want. All right, cool.
It's a different style of pumping with them. So I find with those, they generate a lot of, instead of that big scoop kind of pump movement, you just flutter the back of it and you pick up speed and you just off you go. It's incredible.
Oh, no way.
Like it's really different. And I think my favorite one is my 4 meter. I've had it for about 7 months now. Used it every day through summer and it's still perfectly, the canopy is tight. It hasn't bagged out at all. I'm like, what the heck? This is crazy. So good.
Isn't that awesome when that happens though?
Oh yeah. I'm like, I don't have to get another wing. This is great. And I've been rattled too. So it's pretty good.
That's cool. Yeah. I was talking to Kieran. I'm going to try one of those out eventually. Probably. Yeah. I'm supposed to be in Hood River in September for AWSI.
Awesome.
So it would be sweet to try out some more other stuff. And if not, then maybe I might get a few sent out or something to do some demos. Definitely. But I heard that was progressing. What do you think about Saab then?
Saab's great too. They're my foils mainly, and I love their foils. Like they have my 2 go-tos are their Medusa, which is their freestyle, the jumping wing, and then their Razor is their sort of downwind surf wing. So that's what I use in all the big waves. And I mean, that thing handles waves incredibly. I think it was back to the start of summer. We had some big sort of 6-foot swell and it was the biggest swell I'd been out in yet. And it was kind of the first few times I'd been using the Razor Pro, and it's a 630 square centimeter front wing. And I was just at the top of the wave, like, there's no way I'm going to make it down this. And I was like terrified, and it just drops down nicely. You can do your turns and it does not even falter, and it goes through white water like easily. It just doesn't even, it's crazy. It handles everything so well. Yeah.
Nice. So are you doing some good little foil slides and stuff, and are you working on those too?
Yeah, working on some. Down here we call them finners, but I don't know what everyone else sort of does. Yeah, like getting sick. The tips out of the water. Yeah. So that's sort of. It's funny how everyone has their own little names, but doing some finners and getting the foil out of the water. And the other thing about the Razor is it breaches really well, so the recovery on that's super easy, which is nice. So yeah, practicing that. I'm trying to think of the other things we're doing. I've just started the journey of 360s with the Medusa and in a freestyle wind, and that's taking its time, but it's fun. It's good. Always have to go out there. I always have to have something to practice. Otherwise I just get bored. Got to have a next step.
Definitely. No, next year I was thinking smaller board, and I want to throw some straps on and see if there's how it feels like in the swell and in the waves, and see if you get little jumps and little stuff like that. And I got to get different foil though, to one that breaches a bit better. But
that's my problem now is I'm like, I have these 2 completely different setups, and I'm standing there like, all right, I could either take out my mid-length board with my surf foil and just surf the waves, or I could take out my short board with the straps and the Medusa and practice jumps, and you're always tossing up between the 2. It's hard. It's a good problem to have,
you
though.
Get to pick 2, eh?
Yep. Sometimes I swap halfway. I'm like, all right, we'll do some jumps now. It's fun. Yeah.
Nice. Well,
it's great.
Growing up there, like, what are some of like the super fun adventures that you've gotten into in this sport or in surfing culture that would like give out to people to let them know? Because there must have been some pretty fun little adventures out there.
Yeah, down here is pretty amazing. As I said, I grew up in WA, so we had some pretty fun adventures there. And it's a shame I was so young there, because the wind is meant to be epic. They call it the Doctor. So every single afternoon they have this wind come through, and it's like 20 to 30 knots, just huge wind and big swell. And that's why windsurfing's so big there, because it's really windy. And there's some incredible beaches there with really good waves, so that's meant to be pretty epic, and I'm hoping to get back over there to give it a go. But down here, where there's just, it's honestly endless adventures. through summer we were out there every day doing something different, and we kind of this summer just discovered the downwinders, as everyone has gone crazy for.
Very true.
But we have some pretty epic adventures where we kind of launch from one point, and it's about 30 kilometers down. That's the furthest we've done so far because it's all along a cliff face, so you kind of have no room for error.
Okay.
You go out and you got to make it back, otherwise you're paddling pretty far. But that side of things I love, like the adventure, the journey. It's my favorite thing to do, and we have some pretty rugged coastline along here, so it's cool to see from that angle when you're out in the water and looking back in. You're like, I've never seen it like this before. It's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's like winging and stand-up?
Yeah, so mainly just for me winging. A few of the other guys down here have gotten into the stand-up downwinding, and we usually go as a little group. And that's my next summer thing, is to do that, but I'm still sort of practicing the paddle ups and stuff with that, so a little bit of a way to go to get there. But the wing downwinding here is pretty epic.
Yeah, I love the downwinding with that, because then you could at least, if you want 30K, that would take you a little while to climb back upwind.
Yeah.
Do you actually come back upwind?
We'll get someone to drop us off at the end.
Right.
We're always ringing people like, can you drop us over here?
I was like, 30K, I'd be freaking impressed.
It's crazy. So we meet we meet everyone down at one point and get all the cars there, and then we'll either just drive one car up with everyone loaded in the van, or get someone to drop us up there if we're going to do that. And then you don't have to worry about it. You just downwind and you've got all your stuff at the end, and it's great.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Levantano, cool. You can kind of come back up. Like 5K, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
But 30
it gets
would be
far when you do. Yeah, 30 would take forever.
Huge.
It is huge. I think the biggest upwind downwind I've done, it was probably about 10 Ks, and it's still, that upwind took like an hour and a half. It was a long time.
Mm-hmm. And if the wind, wow.
Yeah.
Have you gotten the opportunity to travel to different places and see some different spots around the world?
Definitely, yeah. So, I saw La Ventana. I haven't winged there, but I got to go and check it out. And then
maybe this winter?
Last year, I'm hoping so. I'm trying to think about what to do this winter because there's so many options. It's crazy.
That's cool.
But last year we got to go to Fiji, which was so epic. So epic. It was honestly a surprise how good that was. So we had a friend over there who had a boat, and we got to go and stay with him, and basically followed the trade winds up the Yasawa Islands. So we would plan it based on what the weather was going to do, and you can find these spots where the trade winds filter through and you just get the most amazing conditions and the clearest water. It was incredible. That really took my skills to another level doing that.
Oh, whoa, no way.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. Is it waves there? Obviously phenomenal.
So good. So we didn't really get into the waves when we were there last year. We more followed the flat water. But definitely around Namautu and stuff, the wave winging and everything there is incredible, and swimming pools and stuff. So hopefully I'm going to think about heading over there again this year because it's really close for us. It's only about 4 hours away. Super easy to get to, same sort of time zone. So it's a good spot. Yeah, it's a good spot.
It's crazy to think, that you can have conversations like this with people around the world. It's pretty cool.
I know. It's nuts. Well, for us to get over to the US, it's so far. Or Mexico or something. It's ages away.
Yes, definitely. I think it's 17 or so hour flight for us Canadians and people that get over there. It's so worth it, though. I'd love to get stung by 7 kind of deadly creatures in one day. I think that'd be a blast.
Yep. Well, we are talking about going up north to sort of Port Douglas area, and I'm like, do I really want to go there? There's crocodiles, there's sharks, there's whales, there's the stingers, there's everything. Like, you do not want to fall in the water up there. Be scary.
Just throw a Dundee hat on.
Yeah. And just cop it. You'd get really good because you're just like, nah, I'm not getting off this board. I'm staying on. But yeah, the downwinders are meant to be epic.
The first time I went to Maui, that's like I was just inquiring about sharks and different things, and everybody just said, "Just don't fall, bro. Just don't fall." And I'm like, "No, like seriously,
easier said than done.
Is there any protocols to follow? Just don't fall." So like, it's pretty much all I got.
It's funny though, because you talk to the locals at any of these spots and they're all so used to it that it's not even a problem. But for us, we're like, I don't want to go near that. I heard the turtles in Maui are a problem because they're everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen a couple of them, and they come, like I was just surfing, but they would breach up right beside you.
Oh, gosh.
Which is pretty cool. Massive little head. It's super cool to see, but they're terrifying. It scares you a bit if you're not used to seeing that stuff.
Is it a shark or is it a turtle?
Nah, it's just a turtle. He's not going to bite me.
Yeah, the things you see wing foiling, it's. I talk to my friends who aren't into any of this stuff and they just don't understand. I'm like, it's just incredible things you see and get to do. It's pretty cool.
Are you kind of converting any surfers into this?
So far, not yet. Especially the females are really scared. Like down here, it's really hard to get them to do it because they're just, I don't know, it's intimidating and it's something new. And a lot of the surfers are kind of looking at it like, no, why would I do that when I can surf every day? Like there's still that big surfing stigma and people aren't moving from it, which in my opinion is good because I like how small it is still down here. But I do want to get a few more people into it. And get them to realize, because as soon as they do it, they will love it. But it's that transition of getting them away from surfing, because I haven't touched my surfboard in like a year now.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think I windsurfed 3 times in Laventon. I was like 90% wing foil.
Wing foiling.
It's just so cruisy.
Oh, I know. It's just whatever you want to do. And that's the same down here. It was a huge windsurfing scene, and now you just don't see any. Everyone's changed.
What's the age demographic where you're sailing over there? Is it younger or is it all over the map? Or
I'm the youngest, so I'm 23, and the youngest down here. It's definitely older. There's a few others around my age, probably about 4 or 5 of us, and we're kind of the ones that do the downwinders and stuff. And then between us from 25 to 30, it jumps up to like 40, 50. And my dad's age, he's 60, and that's a real big group because they're the ones who can afford it down here and everything and have the time. So yeah, all the young people down here are still surfing. And you just can't convince them otherwise, which their loss. That's all I have to say.
Well, whatever. It's more time and space for you guys to do it.
I think in time they'll get into it because we have a pretty cool point down here where you can sort of foil a really long wave and the surfers sit there and kind of watch you, and I'm like, I think soon they'll start to realize that they could be doing that. It'll get bigger.
That was the craziest feeling, I think, when we all kind of got into it, is that cruisy kind of surfing feel, which takes do you find like the acceleration, everything's just much crazier, right? Like it's so much faster. A smaller wave feels bigger.
Yep, definitely. And that's why I love it, because I'm like, we could have a complete onshore day, onshore winds, it's horrible, and you'll still find a wave to foil. Like even if it's 1 foot, you can still do it. And it honestly becomes like a playground because you're jumping between waves and you're trying different things and you just need to get one turn in and it feels great. Whereas surfing, you just can't do that. You can't even get out there on a day like that. So everyone complains down here when it's onshore winds and we're all like, this is great. No one else is out. Let's go. It's awesome.
Have you developed any tricks to get through whitewater, to get through some good like breaking stuff on shore? Like what are your kind of...
Yeah, so getting in and out wise, it's kind of just things you don't even think about, you just sort of do. But whitewater, my thing is just to stay calm, because if you stay calm and you stay standing, you're going to be fine. I think the thing there with people is they get in the whitewater, it starts shaking and you freak out, so you just sort of fall off and then you're in the impact zone. So I usually, try and stay away from the whitewater if you can, but if you're going to go through it, just sort of stay calm and cruise. And I think that's a testament to my foils. They handle it so well. Like they will just sit there and go, and then sort of dismount and stuff. It gets tricky for us because there are a few spots where the shore break really kicks up. So you kind of have to ride the wave. You look at the one behind you and you'll jump off the one that's breaking, and then hopefully you're in the spot where this one's broken behind you too, and you kind of follow that through. So it's a little bit of a game to play, otherwise you get tumbled pretty good. But I think the thing to think about there is you're going to get tumbled and it's usually fine. You'll be okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So competition, what are you thinking? Next year?
I think next year. I'm in a time, it's a tricky time in my life right now because it's, you know, I've finished my degree. Everyone's sort of telling me to work, which I don't want to do yet. I do work, but like I don't want to get into full time yet. And I really want to wing foil a lot more. So I think focusing on a competition will be really good because it'll give me something to do because I always need something to do, and a few travels and stuff. It's just tricky for us because Europe and the US are so far away. So getting over to those competitions, it costs a lot, and it's a lot of time.
Okay.
But I think, next year, hopefully we'll get something over there.
So what do you do out there then to stay kind of tip-top shape? Do you have gym routine, yoga routine, food routine, all that kind of thing? Or?
Absolutely. My friends think I'm a bit crazy, but if we're not in the water, we're going to go to so it's kind of pretty much every day we're doing stuff, whether it's a paddle or a foil or a wing foil, and it's usually 2 to 3 hour sessions, sometimes twice a day. Like it's nuts the amount that we get out there. And if we're not foiling, we're going to go to the gym, and I've got my sort of leg, arm, back day that I rotate between just to keep yourself moving. And then I'm huge on the saunas. I feel like recovery with a sauna is awesome. So I'll try and sit in that for half an hour to an hour most days, just to really recover your muscles. Otherwise you just get too fatigued. And then, food's a big thing. Just eat a lot and eat as clean and healthy as I can. And I need a lot of sleep. I sleep a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Those long sessions.
Yeah. Oh, it's just, you just get worn out. Sometimes it's like 12 hours and I'm back to normal. But it's kind of, it's good. It's become a good routine to do the foiling, the activity, and then you do your recovery, a bit of stretching, eat well, and you're pretty right to go. But it is time consuming. It's a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you tried ice baths and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, I need to get into that next. So I will do it in the ocean. Like in some mornings I'll go for a cold dip, but I haven't done an actual ice bath yet. I usually will go to the sauna and then the cold shower and do that sort of
that makes sense too.
Hot cold. Yeah, which is good. But the ice bath is next. Because as the water gets colder, if you're doing those, it really helps to get in the cold water. Yeah, we did those a few times on Vancouver Island there in Canada, and we'd hop ocean to sauna. And then it just, same principle, like cold shower, whatever, ice bath. It's all kind of the same because the water there is pretty cold. But definitely found some good benefits. Yeah. Good benefits from that. And then continuous gym too. Like a lot of people think that they might not need, but I've had some friends pop shoulders, different things for just not continuously kind of strengthening and ligaments and sockets and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
So that's always a pretty
out
big.
For ages. Yep. Yeah, we always say down here, you don't always, it's kind of the surfer's thing to say, but you don't always surf to train. You have to train to surf as well. Like you got to get in the gym and make sure everything's moving right when you're pushing yourself that hard, for sure.
That's fair. Okay. So we got competition dreams coming up. Any kind of cool trips? You mentioned Fiji. You're thinking this year again?
Yeah, we're thinking Fiji. I did really want to get over to Hood River. There's a few people going over there this year, which would be epic to see. But that might be a next year thing, I think. So Fiji's on the cards for sure. New Zealand's on the cards because they get some good swell. And what are the other ones that we want to do? What we're discussing, because we have down here on the surf coast, we're about 5 hours away from our mountains, which get some good snow. So we go skiing in winter as well. And there's a lake on one of the mountains, and we really want to plan a trip where we kind of go up skiing and hopefully wing foil in the lake, which would be freezing, but fun. Something cool.
It's like, does it freezes up obviously, or?
It does. I think we have to look into this more because this is definitely just an idea we sort of threw in there, but we want to really give it a go. We're like, this will be cool.
Do you have skates?
But yeah. No, I don't have skates. So I think they do a little bit of ice skating up there, but it's definitely, compared to Canada, we're not as big into the skating and
for
stuff
sure.
like that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, well, you got beautiful beaches and we got a lot of snow. But like wing skating is if you get the chance, it's super fun because you can rip on those things if you're used to skating.
You'd be scary almost. You go pretty quick.
Oh yeah, it is quick. But us who are on skates at like 2.5 years old, we're like kind of used to it. So you're just ripping around and bombing. But
that's so cool.
Snowboard winging's pretty. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the skiing and my preference is skates. Obviously, if you can
get on those, yeah, that's so cool. I do want to try the wing with the skis as well and see how that goes. Mm-hmm. But
that'd be fun.
Yeah, we got a few things to try. Yeah, exactly. Because we get some pretty windy days up there. The weather isn't fabulous when we go skiing here, so you get some good wind, which is cool.
That's awesome. Is the rest of your family, like I know you mentioned your dad was into windsurfing and stuff. Any siblings or other relatives and stuff that are in it too?
No, it's just kind of between dad and I, but he's huge into everything. Like we used to mountain bike together. We did comps with that and everything. So mountain biking was our big thing. And I think that got us into the adventure of everything. So between mountain biking, skiing, wing foiling, it's just, we love the adventure, and he's always kind of been my role model for that. So I think it's usually just him and I that compete against each other and try and do all the things. I do have a brother, but he's not into foiling at all and hates when I talk about it because I talk about it a lot. He's like, I can't hear this again. It's hilarious.
Fair enough. What's his go-to kind of hobby or activity that he likes to do?
Yeah. So he's still an adventure person. He loves his hiking. Okay. So we go hiking a lot together, which is really fun, which is kind of a nice kind of cruisy thing for me to do. But yeah, he's right into the hiking. Yeah. And just big into the gym and stuff. And yeah, he loves all the outdoor things. I'm really trying hard to get him to foiling because I know he'll love it, but he's resisting because I'm better than him, I think. And he doesn't want to be worse than me.
Just make a little wager or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And just he happened to fall a lot that day and he succeeds. Maybe that'll work. A little reverse.
Maybe, true, yeah. But my problem is I'm competitive, so I want to be better. You've got a brother, so yeah, it would it's funny. You really compete with each other.
You can just fake it till about 2/3 of the way and then turn it on at the end, right?
Once he's hooked, yeah. And then you go and you're like, this is great. Definitely. I think I'm going to have to get him into it because, yeah, it's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, well, is there anything else you want to touch on? Any other kind of cool stories you want to share with the people about Oz or about other spots you've been to?
I think that's pretty much it. I was going to touch on one of the stories of our downwinders. The first day I downwinded was... we had out the back, it was like 6 foot swell, and then it was a really windy afternoon, and I'd never done one before, and all my friends were like, you'll be fine, it's all good, you know how to wing foil, you'll be all good. They don't warn you how different downwinding is compared to just wing foiling, and you're out there and you're like looking up at these waves, and I was so intimidated. It was pretty crazy, but I think finishing that made you kind of think, oh, you can do anything now. And how good it felt to actually walk on land after that was pretty cool. So after that day, we got so hooked, and anytime we had our southwesterly wind that would create enough bump, we would go. Like it was like clockwork. We'd be out. And this one day we were like, all right, let's go do one. It was a little bit light. The sun was sort of setting. It was getting dark, and we're like, we can fit one run in. It takes us about an hour. And so we drove up there. We had a friend with us who had traveled down here, and so he wasn't really ready. He was on different gear, and we were waiting around for him to get ready before we set off. And I could sort of see the wind dropping. I was like, this isn't going to be good. We're really going to have to race to the end. And so it ended up just being 3 of us that were like, all right, we got to go before the wind drops. And we got halfway between these two spots, and the wind just completely switched off. Like you could not pump up, you couldn't get going. So we had to paddle in, and I think we had like an hour and a half walk under the cliffs with all our gear back to the car, and it was like pitch black by the time we got back. We were like, oh, that's not the right thing to do. I got in a bit of trouble by the parents for sure.
Yeah, I guess I guess so.
They were like driving around trying to find us, and yeah, it was not good. But
well, it's good for like. There's a lot of little things, that you need to consider and think about, especially when you're out in the ocean. And do you wear like any safety stuff or like watch or any of that kind of thing, GPS trackers or whatever?
Yeah, so after that, it got a bit more real. We were like, all right, we really need to get our safety sorted. So most of us have an Apple Watch with GPS in it that we can call or text from. And then we've got our PDF vests. We use Vycobi, and they've got all the safety stuff in them. And I actually bring my phone with me in like a waterproof case. So you've kind of got everything on you. If something goes wrong and you have to come in under the cliffs or something, you can ring someone to pick you up now, which is good. Okay. Just service isn't great around there, but yeah, it works. We're sort of trying to think about a way you could, create like an app or something that can track, like Find My Friends, but for downwinding. I don't know. We're sort of thinking about something we could do. I
wasn't sure if Surfer app was building some of that functionality. Yeah, they're coming out soon, and he had I think he was thinking of something like that.
That'd be sick. I'll have to look into it, because I did hear a few people were thinking about sort of creating something like that, which is necessary for sure.
Mm-hmm. Like either local GPS, or at least then you can have an idea. But
I think New South Wales has done something where they can do it, because they're really big into their downwinding. But I just don't think it works down here. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to have a look.
Well, adventure's coming up, so that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah, and hopefully one day get over to Canada or something, and just want to travel to all the spots and meet everyone and talk about wingfoiling all day.
Your dad would be so proud.
Yeah, he got in my car one day, and there was like a wetsuit on the floor, and he's like, "Oh, yep, I'm proud. This is exactly what I wanted."
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I've gotten the opportunity to like talk to Kylie, Abelev, and a couple other like female athletes and pros, and their stories about them training with their dads is really awesome. Like it's cool to see. Yeah, that's a thing.
It's really interesting to me to see that a lot of us in common have that kind of father figure, as someone who's gotten us into the adventure sports and shown you why you should love it. I think if you're at a point where you're my age and you've never been shown that, it's hard to get into it. But yeah, a lot of us, and even the guys as well, a lot of us were just brought up sort of doing it, and our dads are really good at it and really into it, and it helped immensely. I'm so grateful that he's shown me everything he has, and just his love for it, really. Like, it was never about competition or competing or being the best. He was just like, this is awesome. You're in nature, and how cool is it? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, powered by nature. And now with winging, you can sit out there kind of surfer style and just taking it all in, which I think is one of the coolest things you can do.
It is so
that
beautiful.
The other sports don't really allow you to as much, I guess.
Yeah, like windsurfing, you're always sort of switched on. You can't just relax. And yeah, I think you're right. Wingfoiling's, I think that's why everyone's so hooked. It just seems really special, really different to everything. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Do you have any idea of where it's going? Before we wrap up?
We talk about this all the time. We're like, what is going to be next? Because you see how much it's changed. You've seen how much kiting changed. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere. We're like, what could be next? And I just have no idea what could happen. Like, the boards have changed a lot, for one, and I think they'll keep going through that cycle of this is better and that's better. But in terms of where it'll go, it's hard to say. And I feel like at the moment it's hit a point where it's slowed down a little bit, and everyone's sort of like, not much is changing as drastically as it was, but it'll definitely take off again to something. Who knows?
Any tips and tricks for the ladies to convince them to get out there, because it's such a fun sport?
Yeah, I want to tell everyone just to do it. Like, it's it seems intimidating, but it's not. And if you can, I think now it's great because there's a lot more information out there. There's a lot of more women and other people that are willing to teach you. And I think as a woman myself, I'd say just get out there and ask questions, because everyone will help you. If you're keen, they will help you. And just get on a big board, a big wing, and a big foil, and just start to learn how to get up. And that's where wing foiling's good, because it's pretty cruisy at the start. Until you really want to get into it, you're not going to hurt yourself. You're going to do it's going to be pretty cruisy for you.
That's true. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing the stoke.
No worries. Thanks for having me. It's been fun to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I love talking about other spots as well, like Canada and Mexico and everything. It's cool to just hear that everyone has different stories.
Yeah, like when we were talking to Balls and stuff, and he was in Switzerland and all these different athletes on all these different places, and everybody has their home spots now, which I think are opening up more, because we can have fun on, like you can have like, even on some of our lakes on Vancouver Island that have really good wind, but you'll have 1 foot, 2 foot wind chop. So you can still have a little fun. You can still snap some turns and do some stuff and practice like up downwind 360s and all these kind of flat water, whatever things. And and the exploration aspect is kind of phenomenal. Or you can go sightsee. So my next thing is I'll be sightsee with a picnic and take a break and come back. I think that'd be pretty fun.
That's a good idea. Like adventures. Yeah, that's great. That's one of my favorite, and that's why hiking and all that sort of stuff, it's like the adventure of it is the coolest thing, like going to point, or that's sick.
Well, so can we get a really good surfer impression from you, because you're in the land of Oz, before we go?
I mean, it's actually funny, because down here we always look at the US and we're like, you hit the lip and you're like, wow, and we're down here like we sit in the water and just get angry at each other. So I don't even know what we'd say. That's so funny. We do have one of the guys down here is pretty funny. Like we'll be surfing and you'll hear him in the back and he's literally in his mind and out loud, he's like, wow, we're going to hit this lip and we're going to go down here. Like, what are you doing? We're a bit crazy, but it's good.
That's sick. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, Luke. That was awesome.
And I hope everybody enjoyed our chat today. And but yeah, we'll have to talk soon.
Definitely. Keen to see some of your other stories and who else is on here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Nice. Awesome.